Good afternoon, church family and friends. And we're at the church trying to get ready for tomorrow. You say, why are you trying to get ready for tomorrow? Well, because tomorrow we're going to open up the church to both in-person church services and live stream as well. We're going to have to try to follow the guidelines that were given to us by the Attorney General of Texas, and I want to try to abide by those the best that we can. And so there will be some guidelines that we are going to follow while we're here in church. If you come to the church in person instead of following us on the live stream virtual services, so to speak, then we ask you to follow some guidelines. One, we'll be here at our normal time at 7 p.m. Now, I know that many of us are accustomed to being here early, and I appreciate you being early, but we're not going to open the doors. There won't be any entry into the building until 15 minutes to the hour. So 6:45 will be allowing you to come in. We ask you to come in. All the other doors in the building will be locked. The only ones that we will open for entry, of course, some of these will open for fire escape purposes, but the only one that we'll use for entry is the foyer doors, or what I've affectionately called the real front door. And that's the doors that are right here in the foyer by the bathrooms closest to the auditorium or the sanctuary. And so we'll be using that as entry and exit. The purpose for that is because the rest of the building will be off limits. We'll have it blocked off. And so the fellowship hall, the Sunday school wing, the nursery, all those things will be off limits. And so we will just be using the foyer and the sanctuary. Every other pew is what we're going to be using for seating. And so I know we as Baptists love our seats, but your seat may be roped off. And so we're going to be using every other seating. Now, that's in keeping with the guidelines the Attorney General of Texas has given us. And so we're going to try to abide by that. They've also given us some guidelines to be able to put into place, some practices to put into place. And that is that families and households, or if you drive to church together, that you are to sit together in the service. And so we ask you to do that, and that's what we're going to be following here. Now understand that we also have just with half the seating capacity, that we are going to have to follow those guidelines pretty strictly, or we'll fast run out of room. So try to sit together, and they're asking us to leave 6 feet apart between for instance, my family on a pew and the next family. So we can fit 2 families to a pew if the families are small enough, as long as there is a 6-foot gap between us. Of course, there won't be any access to the remainder of the building. We'll have sanitizing stations here, so we have sanitizing hand sanitizer back here at the offering table, and then there'll be some at the welcome desk that's been brought forward into the foyer. We'll have a limited supply of masks and gloves if you choose or deem it necessary to avail yourself of those things. So we have a limited supply of that. And we do recommend that you follow the CDC guidelines while you're here. Of course, we ask that you social distance. And I know, listen, it is going to be extremely difficult not to fellowship and get around and talk to one another. But if we don't follow the guidelines, we may have to go back to not having in-person services. So please help me with that. Stay with your families. Follow the guidelines, 6 feet apart. Also, we don't want any pressure placed upon you to be able to come to church. Just because we're opening the church now at this time does not mean that we're telling you to come to church. What I'm saying is I'm opening the building. And so if you're in that category of people that they say is at risk, or you don't feel comfortable coming quite yet, listen, we don't want you to feel burdened to come. We want you to make decisions for your family, and that you would make decisions based upon what God directs you to do. Understand that we look forward to the day that we can return to normal, and I think that day's coming. However, it might be a little slower than we would like it to be. All of us would like it to be. I picked today's devotion because I know that there's going to be a little bit of time, and you'll say, well, what do I do before the church starts, and I can't get around and fellowship and talk and do all those kind of things. Can I encourage you to sit in your pew and pray and ask God to speak to us in a wonderful way, and pray for our service, pray for our church, pray for the people in our church. And you see, prayer is a very important thing. In Proverbs chapter number 29, you'll find a verse here that I lost my place, so give me just a second. It's in verse number 9. I was thinking 19, but that was not the right verse. If a wise man, that's not the right chapter. I didn't even go to the right chapter. Isn't that terrible? I guess this is just like church. Well, I lost it. Well, isn't that something? Y'all need to pray for me before I lose my marbles. 28. That's why I couldn't find it. He that turneth away his ear from the hearing the law, even his prayer shall be abomination. That's verse number 8, verse number 9 of chapter number 28. I'll get it right. Proverbs 28, 9. He that turneth away his ear from hearing the law, even his prayer shall be an abomination. You think about that for a moment. God says that when we don't follow the word of God and we don't put that in our life, God says that our prayer is an abomination. What a terrible thing. Many times I wonder why my prayers are not answered, and I'm sure you ask yourself the same thing. Why are my prayers not answered? One of the reasons why that many times our prayers is not answered is because we turn our ear from the Word of God. Can I ask you to spend time in the Word of God today and tomorrow? When you get here, if you're here 15 minutes early and you take your seat, I ask you to spend some time in prayer and ask God to heal our land, heal our country, to strengthen our church, and to make us see the great need for revival in our own lives, that we might be able to come on the other end of this stronger and more capable of serving God than at any other time in our history. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow if you come, but if you don't, we'll be praying for you.